In this video, I'm going to show you 5 really easy, creative ways in which you can utilize Ableton's new Drum Buss module. And to start things off, we're going to look at kick improvement. So here I've got a kick taken from the Aurora pack. I'll let you have a quick listen to what this sounds like. And what I've done for this demonstration is I've put on this EQ and scooped out the low end, purposefully taking away the sub bass frequencies because I'm going to show you a little trick to add boom and sub bass to any kick that's sounding a little bit thin in the mix. You might like the top end and the mid of the kick, but it's just missing that boom and it just needs raising a little bit. So it's a different way of doing it instead of using EQ, and it yields some quite nice results actually. So this is what the kick sounds like with this EQ applied. And as you'll notice on the drum bus, I've not dialed in any of these settings here, like the drive or the crunch. I've opened damp all the way up as well, because we're just going to work with this part here. So yeah, the main thing that we're going to use is the boom. That's the level of how much sub bass frequency you want to put in. And this is the really key part of it as well, the frequency. So earlier I found out the key frequency of the kick, which was F sharp. And what I did was I played around with the frequency band here until I got to F sharp. And then if you click this button, that centers it, so it's like perfectly on F sharp now. And the other thing to play around with is the decay as well, which I'll show you in a second. So what we're going to do is we're going to press this little button. That's to solo the frequency, so I can really show you what we're actually playing around with. So we'll start to dial this in now. So there you go, it's dialed in like a sub bass frequency, and you can go really intense with this as well. And it's quite good because you've got this little bass meter, so when it reaches this line, you know you're really kind of pushing it a little, too much. So I kind of try to bring it around this area here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take it off solo. I'm going to dial this in, and then we're going to play around with the decay to get a nice decay for the kick. I'm going to show you how you can utilize these modules here as well to just add a little bit more grit to the initial kick. So we'll do that now. So there you go, it's really cool tonal shaping capabilities of the drum bus when playing around with kicks. And also I found out recently that you can stack these as well. So once you've used one drum bus, try putting another one straight after it on kicks and just see if you can get some really kind of nasty, gritty, hard banging techno sounds out of it. So yeah, that's really useful on kicks. I really love using that all the time. So let's move on to the next one. So for this next technique, we're going to add a little bit of pump and sustain, pretty much parallel compression to this sample here. So on the drum bus itself, what I've done is I put it on medium and I pushed the drive all the way up, and then we've added a little bit of compression as well. So what I found out with this compressor side of the drum bus is standard it's on 0 dB. So when you put compression on, it's hitting it quite hard. So I like to use this trim, and I found out that it kind of eases off the compression a little bit, so it's not too intense. And then we've got the crunch as well here, so I've added a bit of that in. I usually put the damp up as well, to let all of the frequencies get crunched, but you can play around with that. If you find it's too harsh, you can bring that down. And also the transients as well. So what I found out with transients is that when you open it up, it opens up the sustain. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a listen to the original, and then I'm going to start to dial in these settings that I've done here, so you can hear what this sounds like. All the way wet. So obviously it's quite intense, so we'll just maybe put it around 30%. So for me, it just adds a bit more pump and compression, and you can go as extreme as you want with that, or you can do it quite lightly as well. So this next example, I'm going to show you how you can bring up the noise floor and the grit of a loop. And for this example, we've got this Aurora effects loop here, so I'll just play this. So it sounds really cool, but I'm going to show you how we can make it a little bit thicker and bring up some more noise and stuff like that. So yeah, I've got the drive set all the way up and the crunch is all the way up. So we're really smashing this drum bus here. And the transients are all the way up as well. So that's like really stretching the sound. And what we're going to do, actually I've got compression on as well, and that's kind of hitting quite hard. So I'm really pushing it to the extreme, the bus compressor. So what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to dial in using the dry wet knob to bring in some of this extreme compression. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'll just do a quick before and after. So for me, that's kind of acting like a compressor and a distortion unit and a little bit of overdrive as well. It's kind of a mixture of all of those qualities. And for the next example, we're going to be looking at this bass sound here. So with a lot of the Audiotent samples, you can find out the key of a loop by looking at the description. So we've got pad loop 120 E minor, and because it's pad loop, it works really well as a pad. But I want to add some sub bass frequencies using the pad sound. So we're gonna do that with the drum bus like we did earlier with the kick, and we're gonna try and add in a couple of sub bass frequencies into that pad loop to really thicken out the bottom end. So let's go ahead and do that now. So yeah, as I said, because I knew that it's E minor, I've dialed in 2 E's on both of these. So we've got E0 and E1. One's at 41.2 Hertz and the other one's at 82.4 Hertz. So we're going to listen to the first one and we're going to solo it and listen to the exact frequency that we're dialing in. So here we go. Let me just solo this. Says the first one a really low tone and the second one is a little bit higher. So let's just solo this and have a quick listen. And I kind of like it around 37. I think it's too intense when you push it up a little bit further on that one. But this one, because there's no really low sub frequencies in the pad loop, you have to push this one a little bit more to really bring it out, because it's really pushing up that low end. And so yeah, we're going to put these both on and take a listen to what it sounds like with both of them playing. And this is before. So you can really add in those lower tones without having to reach for another synthesizer and adding in more bass tones. You can just basically bring out the bass tones of that loop. And we're going to take it a little bit further because we've stacked on 2 drum buses. I thought, why not stack on another one? And we're just going to use these first two to boost the sub bass frequencies. But then on this third one, we're going to use the techniques that we used earlier for pump sustain and like the noise grit lifter, and just try and add a bit more distortion and stuff. So I've used quite intense settings here again. And I'll just start to dial this in and see what kind of sounds we can get out of it. I really like that now. So it's like really brooding and nasty. Sounds kind of cinematic to me. That like a really, really big kind of nasty cinematic sound. So yeah, that's a really cool way to play around with the drum buses as well on like pads and basses and things like that. And for the next one, we're going to be looking at transient shaping. So you might have come across like transient shapers like the SPL design transient shaper. And what I found out is that the drum bus does a similar thing. So here I'm not using any of these settings which we used previously. We're just going to use only the transient setting. So all we're doing is just affecting the transient shape of the loop. So we've got two different loops here. We're going to look at a drum loop and also an analog percussion loop as well. So let's have a listen to this first one, and then we'll shorten the decays, and then we'll boost them up as well, and try and open up the sustain of the loop. What I really like about that is that when you open up the transients, it's like you're getting a compressed sound without using the compressor or the drive elements of the drum bus. And you can get so much out of just using that transient alone. So yeah, let's have a listen to this next one. So this one's like a analog percussive sound, also taken from the Aurora pack. Oh yeah, and the reason why I chose this one is because it's really short decay times on the hits, so I thought it'd be a nice one to kind of open up, see if we can make the sound thicker. So yeah, so that's really cool. So another kind of reason why I like this as well, because if you're playing around with like loops that have already been pre-recorded and stuff, you obviously haven't got access to that original synthesizer in which it was made on. So using like the transient designer on synth loops, it gives you more control. So it sounds like you're opening up the sustain or the decay or release of the loop, which is really cool. So I mean, obviously in an arrangement, you could start off low here. And maybe for a build or as the track progresses, you can start to open up the transients. Yeah, I really like that. It just gives you more control over the loop, basically. So yeah, there's 5 really easy and simple ways to get to grips with the new Ableton Drum Buss. And do you guys use it in a standard way, which it is intended for? So like putting it on a drum bus, or do you try and use it on different elements as well, like I have done here with like the bass and synthesizer sounds and analog percussive sounds and things like that? Are you using it often, or have you not really touched it yet? Please let us know in the comments below. I'll really look forward to checking those out, and I'll catch you next time. Thank you very much.